Hello everybody, what is going on? I am Lucas and welcome to the very first episode of Amps in the Axe FX 3. I am going to be going through every amp in the Axe FX 3. Now the very first ones we are going to be checking out is going to be the Fender Tweeds. We have three of them that we are going to be looking at. And the very first one, the one you just heard, is the 51F, which is based on the Fender Champ. Now the Fender Champ was a very small practice amp. It only had like an 8-inch speaker in it, and it used a 5-watt amp, and it had such a small speaker and such a low amount of wattage. It broke up pretty fast. It sounds pretty clean when we have it around 5. I say pretty clean. It's not into full-on breakup territory yet. Now it had two inputs on it. It had a high input and it had like a normal input. The fractal one is modeled off of the high input, and if you want to model the low input, all you have to do is just set the input trim right here. You set that to 0.500 and you'll get that modeled for you. Now these were made in the 40s to 50s or so. This one is I believe it's modeled off of the like 57 one. It used it was a Class A amp. It used 6v6 power tube, one power tube. This one's modeled off of the 51F circuit. That's why it's called that, and it's a very simple. It's made between the late 50s, 40s, cut no 40s. It's just the 50s and the up to 64, and it was marketed as a practice amp too. So it's that's why the speaker in it is so small. And it's a very simple amp, and as you see here on the authentic tab right here, there's only an input drive, because that's what's on the actual amp. It's just one little input drive. On the amp itself, it's labeled volume, but gain or input on here is labeled on the input drive. Let's drive it a little bit, and let's get into breakup territory. It's going to break up right around here. See, that's kind of you getting into that. It's starting to break up pretty heavily. Let's push it up to let's push it up to around like 9 or so, and then right around there, and then I'll push it to completely to 10. Nice and crunchy when we push it very hard. Cab wise, I'm using the 1.8 little Tweed with the 57 on it. Now let's move on to the 5F1EC. This is of the Vibra Champ. These amps are extremely similar. 5F1EC had cathode bypass cap, so it has a little bit more gain in it. As you can hear, when we're on input on 5 right here, it's already into that nice breakup territory. Let's jack it down to about 3. I find there's about a 2 input difference between the EC and the normal 5F1. So, once we're in 6 and 7 territory on the input, it's mighty crunchy. I like this one better when it comes to breakup. Same cab as before on the original 5F1. And to get into the 8 territory. And let's pin it all the way. Nice and overdriven when you push them, nice and hard. Now, for the very last one we're going to be looking at for the Tweed. By the way, if you don't already know, it's called the Tweed because it's named after the tweed finish that wraps the actual amp itself. It's that brown tweed. That's why it's named like that. So the one we have right here, the 5F8 Tweed, this one is actually modeled off of Keith Urban's Fender narrow panel high-powered Tweed Twin, and it's believed that Fender calls their amps, when they have a twin in the name, they believe that they call them that because they have 2 speakers in it. And speaking of speakers, I'm using a 212-59 Tweed with a SM7 on it for the cab. Keith's actual twin, he has 2 rock speakers in it, which aren't the exactly original speakers that came with it. And it has 2 inputs on it. It has a high input and it has like a normal input, just like the smaller ones do. Keith only used the normal one. And the settings that you have right here that I have in front of me, these are actually the settings that Keith had on his. I thought it would just be fun to slap those settings on there. And as you can see, the treble and the presence are pretty high because the amp itself, it is pretty dark. All the information that I'm going to give you, and I'm talking about, it comes from a Yix amp guide, and I'm going to put a link to that down below. He had this guide forever ago, and you can find it on the forum, and he has posts about each of the amps. This one amp is actually number 3 on Vintage Guitar's list of the 25 most valuable guitar amps. It ranks higher than SRV's Vibra Verb, which is insane. I think it's really nice that Keith let Fractal model his amp exactly, because if it wouldn't be in the Axe-Fx, I probably would never even have a chance to even try this amp out, since it's so expensive and so hard to find. The Twin is set to sound like a Bassman, but it's a little bit warmer, hence that darkness that I just talked about. And in Yix amp guide, they have Joe Bonamassa settings, and they actually have Keith's, and like I said, I'm using Keith's. Joe's is a little bit different. His is, he uses a different input. It has a ton of clean headroom. It's not as super bright as the later Twins. Keith's one actually has 2 Rock CR12 speakers, which sound similar to the G1265s. The original amp came with Jensen P12N speakers. Let's play around with this amp a little bit. As you can hear, it's a little bit crunchy a little bit. Let's push it a little bit more. That actually sounds really nice right there. You got a nice little dirt going on. Now we're going to get into some more heavy territory. Guitar, by the way, I'm using a G&L Strat with DiMarzio noiseless pickups in the neck. Everything here has been from the neck. And let's jack it all the way up. Man, the Tweeds sure are something special, aren't they? Really cool that these are modeled and they're actually in the Axe-Fx, because growing up, I mean, I grew up in the 90s, you know, Tweeds were cool, but it's not something that younger guitarists really seek after, because, you know, it was something from back in the day. But I'm really glad that I got to play them in the Axe-Fx. So let me know, do you own these amps in real life? Do you use them in your patches? Let me know some cool things that you've done with them, or if you've used them before. Definitely stay subscribed, because we are going to be going through all of the amps in the Axe-Fx. It's going to be a really cool ride. Make sure you don't miss any of those. If you thought this video was really cool, make sure you smash that like button. As for me, I'm going to have to be out. Peace.